Manager will be presenting some tips and tricks on linking into LinkedIn, why and how you should have a presence on LinkedIn, and how LinkedIn can help grow your business. Very exciting stuff. After his presentation, we'll open the floor for some Q&A regarding today's presentation or anything website related, really. We have digital marketers, project managers, and designers here today, so we should have you covered. Thanks again for joining. We appreciate it. Steve, take it away.
All righty. So LinkedIn is a really, really important but often overlooked or misused social platform. Just so you know, by the way, this session is being recorded and will be available on YouTube within the next few days, possibly also going to be shared to LinkedIn and Facebook. So we do these every month on the first Thursday of the month at 10 o'clock. So you're always welcome to join, and we keep that listed in an events calendar on Facebook so that you can see what Global Reach is what nuggets of wisdom we'll be sharing in the next month. So as for this month, we're going to talk a little bit about some tips about LinkedIn, and specifically, is it the right platform? If it is, how do you use it? What do you use it for? Is it just for jobs? What is it for? A lot of people who are not super familiar with LinkedIn like to think of it as Facebook for professionals, and they're right to an extent in the fact that it's a social media platform. But really, you should be thinking as a brand and as an industry, which one is better for you, Facebook or LinkedIn? And that depends on who your audience is. Are you looking for connection with business to business? Is that who you're targeting? Are you targeting business to consumer? If that's the case, if you want to do both, then Facebook's probably a better platform for you. It also depends on your industry. But if mostly what you do is business to business, then LinkedIn is something you can't afford to miss, especially if you are in the law industry, if you have a law firm, if you're nonprofit. A lot of nonprofits are finding a lot of growth and support on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where CEOs and C-suite people are, but also where top talent is. When you go to college, when you're working on your undergrad or even your master's studies, a lot of times they encourage you to build up a LinkedIn profile and really get your own personal brand built up to establish industry expertise and credibility, because that's where a lot of recruiters are looking. So it's important to be on the platform, both on a personal and a professional level. But what it really comes down to for building brand awareness on LinkedIn, it's a fantastic platform for that. And LinkedIn has been reinventing and recreating new things. You may or may not know Microsoft owns LinkedIn. So it has money behind it, so to speak, but they've purchased an education platform. There's so many different tools at your disposal on LinkedIn, both for creating job posts and for building brand awareness and for establishing industry expertise, that it doesn't make sense to not be on it. Everything that I'm about to cover is actually available on on a Global Reach blog that we wrote not so very long ago, which is called the Secrets of the Fortune 500, linking into LinkedIn. And so that blog is available. You just go to globalreach.com/blog and you'll be able to find it. And it breaks down a lot of the finer points of what I'm talking about, but I'm going to go a little further in depth today. So first, we're going to start with a statistic. According to Edelman Trust Barometer, not Edelman, I didn't decide, I'm not involved with them, but Edelman Trust Barometer says that 59% of people trust a brand's social media, while only 41% trust ads. And the reason for that is that you get a much better picture of a company, of their culture, of what they're all about, of what they care about, of how they're adding to the overall value of what it is they're putting out based on their social media. It's more honest and raw, even on a platform like LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a great platform to build your brand voice, your brand authority, and your brand reputation specifically. So there are certain things you can do to build out your brand organically, your organic following on LinkedIn, some best practices that you can follow that'll help you to do that. Like any social platform, the key secret is not really that much of a secret. Get social, be involved, actively post, engage with your audience, build out your audience's overall understanding of what it is that you're you're offering in terms of services, but also industry expertise. I'm a huge fan of the 80-20 rule, which is where you give 80% for free of just pure value, and not look at me, buy from me, here's the product or service I have to offer. So 20% of your time on any social platform can be spent on that. Now, when I say that, it can break down. That's a macro overview, but you can look at it as a closer to a micro overview. If you say, okay, 80% of this post needs to be building value, 20% of the post itself can be to learn more, click here. So it's about putting out more value than you're asking. It's earning trust. It's earning the reputation of authority, and that's only done by putting out engaging content. And I'm going to get more into that in just a second here. Now, one thing I want to make sure I touch on is LinkedIn ads. You can pay for attention. You know, there's an old saying that loyalty can be bought, and that is also true on social media platforms. If you want to spend money on targeted ads, there are ways. There's a LinkedIn Pixel. Every platform has its own pixel, but there's a LinkedIn Pixel you can have put on your website, and you can target your ads specifically for audience based on industry, based on title, based on approximate salary, education. I mean, you can basically build out all kinds of hyper targeting using LinkedIn. And as far as cost goes, a lot of times it's much more expensive than Facebook ads. Facebook's are a very cost-effective way to do ads, but not quite as expensive as an overall SEO / SEM, so like Google Ads strategy. So it's usually like a nice happy medium, but it also depends on who you're targeting. So yes, you can do ads, but it can get costly. So one thing that I am a big fan of is just making sure that you're organically on point where you need to be with an overall strategy. So that all starts with not only your personal brand's Facebook profile, but a business page profile. And then you want to invite your employees to follow your page on LinkedIn. So if you have employees that are on LinkedIn, get them to follow the page, get them to like the page, and that way they're more likely to see content that they either helped build and then share it with their network, or just content that can basically be your best word of mouth advertising, essentially, without having to pay extra for it. So one thing that is an easy to overlook thing is setting actual goals. So engagement is the biggest thing. Every platform, especially LinkedIn, wants to keep people on that platform for as long as possible. Part of that is so that they can feed ads to the people that are on there, but also so that they can build up the engagement and they can build value. And humans are creatures of habit. So if we get into the habit of checking LinkedIn right after we wake up every morning while we're brushing our teeth, then that's a habit we'll keep. And so they want you to put out good, engaging, valuable content consistently. So one way that you can do that is by keeping an eye on your analytics. And so if you track the analytics page, you track your engagement, you can set goals. Okay, I want to grow by this much. What am I going to do that? So having something measurable makes it a lot easier than having something arbitrary. And remember, there's a big difference between expectations and aspirations. Aspirations are something that you'd like to do. Expectations are something you're setting for yourself that you're going to do. So I expect to grow my engagement by this much. Well, then you need steps on how you're going to do that. So when you look at the first thing that you want to do is really optimize your LinkedIn page, your profile. So I'm looking at this from the admin view, or from a member view, and it tells about your employees that are on LinkedIn. It tells about your personal connections that are on there. They see the about section, which you want to optimize with plenty of keyword value. There's lots of keyword value in here, and the reason for that is that the Google crawlers see all of this. So tying these to your brand is super valuable as well. So anyway, you want to go through and make sure that everything on your LinkedIn profile is as built out as possible. Any locations that you have, you want to have built out, and because all of this helps with telling the algorithm who it is you're trying to hit. If you're an employee, the employees actually have a employee engagement experience here. So you can actually, this is a newer thing that LinkedIn's been doing so that people can connect with their colleagues. They can see your posts on here, which break down exactly that, different blog posts, what kind of hashtags, all of that can be seen. And then any jobs that are listed. We have, your job listings are also here. and then some of the people. Now the people is interesting too. So if there's people who you've gone to school with or whatever, you can see that as well. Now this is all stuff that's viewable to the public, and that is also viewable to the algorithm. There's also a place on here for videos, which I'll come back to that in a minute as well. So understanding what it is that people are going to see when they come to your LinkedIn profile is helpful, because then you know what you need to work on. Now, as far as seeing it as an admin, you can go in and you can look at, there's all kinds of interesting analytics that you can look into as far as your visitors, your updates, followers. There's content suggestions. So their algorithm is really trying to be programmed to help you share selfless content that still shows that your business is an industry expert. Don't be afraid to do that. It has, you can either recommend the page to employees, or you can get content suggestions to put on there. You can list out products, which is LinkedIn's way of building out e-commerce. So there's quite a bit that you can dive into, and understanding your audience is really an important part of that. So you can get really deep into that as well. And then as far as admin tools, there's a lot of tools in here as well. Connecting or adding your connections, posting a job, creating events, which we're going to start making sure that Global Reach actually posts these monthly training events to our events section here. And then you can add something that it used to be was that you had to have a specific person. You had to be personally connected to a person within the company to do that. Well, now you can add page admins, which is something that's been needed for quite a while. So there's a lot that you can do to actually optimize out the content on your LinkedIn, and all of this should be relevant information from the website. As far as building out content that's going to build your audience, here's my hard and fast rules for social media posting, but especially on LinkedIn in a very, very big way. If you're taking notes, now's a good time to make sure you got some clean paper and a pen. This is some really good stuff. So the first one was to set engagement goals. Understand where you are, where you want to be, and then have a plan on how you're going to get there. Second is plan to deliver real value. When I say value is very subjective, right? I might shoot a video of myself and think, oh, this is garbage. But if there's something in there that somebody else finds valuable, then who am I to say that that wasn't great? Is it on point with brand? Maybe. It depends. What is it? Do you have a brand strategy guide? Are you following it there? But make sure that your content is helpful, insightful, and offers a unique perspective. So if I was going to share an article that is industry leading, so say it has to do with privacy laws and how cookies are tracked, or how Google is changing how it makes recommendations or whatever, and it's not an article from my blog or from my company's website, whatever, then you want to make sure that your textual content above that offers some kind of valuable insight. In other words, contributes to the knowledge of the internet, and specifically to the knowledge of that platform. So then you're not just saying, oh, look, here's an interesting thing I found. That doesn't really offer value. People who follow companies do so because they want industry insights. And so if you can provide your unique perspective on something that is an industry insight, that's super helpful, and that builds more value. Ultimately, what you want to do is think about your audience. You want to give them what they want to see, not just what you want to show them. So you may think, oh, we have all these awesome services, everybody wants them, they just don't know it yet, and you're just pushing service stuff out. But if your audience isn't interested in that, it's going to turn them away. They're not going to follow it. So that goes back to the old 80-20 rule that I mentioned. When I'm doing I do a lot on my time, I do a lot of experimenting with social media platforms and trying to figure out how to organically build stuff up without paying for it, so that we can advise our clients on that. And I actually follow a 90-10 rule. So 90% of my content is trying to build value, and 10% is follow me, check this out, whatever it is. So that's really a core thing. The second thing, always deliver value. The third thing is consistency. So you want to post at least once per day on LinkedIn. That's the LinkedIn recommended best practice. And there's actually a link in this article that goes a little bit further into it. I believe it's LinkedIn Learning is where it is, or oh no, it's a new guide. So there's a new guide in the blog post that shows you specifically that they recommend at least one post per day. But where you have a little bit of flexibility is you want to look at your analytics, find out when people are online, and try to post right before that curve goes up. It's like the stock market. You want to invest when it's low, but it's on its way up, as opposed to when it's at the peak and on its way down. So that's when you want to post. So try posting on different times. Try in the morning, try in the afternoon, whatever you want to do. experiment and analyze. With digital marketing in general, there's a lot of trial and error, but it's going to, as you do that, you're going to be building engagement. You're going to be hitting different target audiences and people in your audience in different ways, and that is insanely helpful because you can expand your audience better organically. A general psychological rule of thumb, I like to dive into the psychology of social media specifically, but psychologically speaking, early in the morning, people have a much more primitive feeling. So anything that speaks to people's gut or their heart, they're more likely to engage with. In the afternoon, people are more analytical because they've been doing analytical stuff all day. And at the end of the day, that's where their head's at. So posting things that make them think and make them want to engage with that is a good way to do it. So thinking about your content in that shape, this is a generalization, but I found it to be true. That's a good way to do it. At lunchtime, people are in a hurry, so something a little more digestible might not be a bad idea. So, what is your content? What are you hoping to get out of it? What are you hoping to provide with it? And what type of content? If you have an article that's really gut-wrenching, then maybe post it a little earlier in the morning, around 9 o'clock in the morning. If you have something that really breaks down industry insights, that might be something that's in terms of statistics and hard facts, that might be something for the afternoon. So the type of post and trying to deliver that value consistently is a big part of it. On that note, mix up your content, share your voice. Okay, so there's 4 essentially different ways that you can share your voice on LinkedIn. Especially as a business. 1, textual content. So just having a text with some kind of a link. Always have some kind of clickable element to it, whether it's a link, an image, or a video. Always have something that is thumb stopping and engaging on there, because text is just basically ignored. It's skimmed over. There's nothing eye-catching. So textual content is the first one. An image is the second one. So there's actually an image size, and when we're going to update this article a little later today with an image sizing guide that is just great. It breaks down specifically on LinkedIn and various platforms, but on LinkedIn, what size you want your things to be, whether it's an icon, whether it's, no matter what it is, we have a full sizing guide that I've been working with our design team on. In fact, I just got a message from her saying that it's actually ready now, thank goodness. So the sizing guide is something that's really, really cool. I'm going to try and pull it up, but it'll show you what size images work best, because you want them to have the best visual experience as well. As far as video content, same thing with video. You want to make sure it's sized properly, but you also want to have good captions. Captions are super helpful when you're dealing with video, because not all video is consumed the same way. The first 15 seconds is kind of the teaser section of it. So that's the part that's going to catch somebody's attention, and they'll decide whether or not they want to continue watching after that first 15 seconds. And then you have articles, which is where you can go really deep in depth. You can have blog stuff. Now, from a personal perspective, if you're building your personal brand awareness, what's a good idea, and your personal industry expertise, or you already have a good following there, one good idea is to share kind of a teaser. So maybe start the article, reword it a little bit on LinkedIn, and then link back to a Facebook, a blog post. That's a really good way to do that as well. The 5th rule is engagement. You want to engage. You want to respond to comments. You want to respond to messages. LinkedIn rewards those who engage with their audience. And then hashtags and mentions, use that. Hashtags, I'd say about 3 hashtags is usually what I found is the most successful. But so for us, digital marketing agency is one of the biggest hashtags. So we use that on a lot of our posts. Design is another one. So understanding and doing a little hashtag research goes a long way. And then tagging the bigger businesses also helps as well. Finally, the last 2 things are, you want to include calls to action in your posts, whether that's to drive downloads, leads to your website, whatever. There is a 45% higher follower engagement on LinkedIn with updates that have posts, with updates that have links to them. So make sure that you have some kind of clickable click-through thing if you want to get more engagement. Again, it follows that 90-10 rule. So make sure that whatever or 90-10, 80-20, whatever, make sure you're giving content that is not only engaging, but also super valuable. And by proxy, people tend to think, if this is what they're giving away for free, what do they give me if I pay them? And that's true. That should be a business model, essentially. And last but not least, video content is, and always will continue to be, on the rise. It's huge. Micro video content is a really big deal. Audio content is a big deal. LinkedIn has recently announced that they are creating more and more creator tools, so to encourage people to create really engaging content, especially video and going live and things like that. So when you go live, there's a special fear of missing out that's tied to it that's really, really hard to get any other way. So when you upload a video, don't just upload it to YouTube and then share a link to YouTube. You want to share it directly on your various social platforms. So maybe even having it formatted, sized right for YouTube, but then also for LinkedIn and for Facebook, because generally speaking, social platforms absolutely love videos, because videos keep people engaged. They keep people on the website. So if they are going to send it to another social platform, they're losing traffic. They don't want to do that. However, if you upload a video directly to them, it keeps them on that platform longer. Ultimately, they're shared more organically through the algorithm because social platforms are very selfish, and they don't like to promote each other, is what it comes down to. So I was able to find the image that I talked about with the sizing guide. And so this is actually going to be embedded on that blog. But as you can see, there's a specific size for the cover photo for your LinkedIn profile and a different one for your LinkedIn business. Your image posts are actually going to be different also for your LinkedIn profile versus your LinkedIn business. Even the profile picture has a best practice standard size that's a little bit different. So understanding these sizes can help make it a little bit more consumable. And so it's important to get that right. Now, if you're interested in this, we actually have a sizing guide for every single social platform. And so we can provide you with that as well. You can email SEO@globalreach.com and we can get that out to you. If it's something that you're interested in, it's super helpful in planning out your content. So in conclusion, basically the most important thing is to engage with your audience, build up organically through conversations, and add to the overall value. It's important for you to make sure that you are not just sharing your industry expertise, but that you are engaging and adding to the conversation overall. And that is how you can establish yourself as an industry leader and as the kind of business that other businesses want to do business with, and that people, because ultimately we're all people behind the business. So that's pretty much all I have for LinkedIn strategy for businesses.